Picture this: a Catholic priest surrounded by wealthy businessmen, dining in elegant restaurants, wearing perfectly tailored cassocks, and counseling some of Europe's most influential families. This was Saint Josemaría Escrivá, and it's exactly why critics labeled him the saint of the rich. But here's what might shock you. This controversial saint's message was actually more radical than any revolutionary's manifesto. Today, we're diving deep into one of Catholicism's most misunderstood figures to uncover the truth behind the accusations. Was Escrivá really an elitist saint? Or did his critics completely miss the point? If you're curious about saints who challenged the status quo, hit that subscribe button because we explore fascinating stories like this every week. Who was Saint Josemaría Escrivá? Born in 1902 in rural Barbastro, Spain, Josemaría Escrivá seemed destined for an ordinary life until a mystical experience at age 16 changed everything. Walking through snow-covered streets in Logroño during the harsh winter of 1918, he noticed mysterious footprints in the snow. But here's the extraordinary part. They were bare footprints, as if someone had walked barefoot through the freezing snow. Following these prints, young Josemaria felt an overwhelming presence and heard God calling him to priesthood. This wasn't just a career decision, it was a complete surrender that his own father initially opposed, fearing the anti-clerical violence sweeping Spain. After ordination in 1925, this young priest experienced another life-changing moment. On October 2, 1928, while making a retreat in Madrid, Escriva had a vision so clear and powerful that he later described it as seeing his entire life's mission laid out before him. He founded Opus Dei with a revolutionary premise that scandalized traditional Catholics. Ordinary people could become saints without entering monasteries or convents. Your daily job, whether you're scrubbing floors or running a corporation, could be your direct path to holiness. This wasn't just spiritual advice, it was a complete reimagining of Catholic spirituality that would attract unexpected followers and create controversies lasting decades. The accusation, an elitist saint? The controversy began almost immediately, but it intensified dramatically during Spain's Civil War. While other priests fled or went into hiding, Escrivá managed to maintain connections with influential families who protected him. Critics argued this proved his elitist tendencies. Why did the wealthy risk their lives for this particular priest? The accusations multiplied when witnesses described his refined mannerisms, his insistence on quality clothing for liturgical ceremonies, and his apparent comfort in aristocratic circles. Cardinal Ottaviani, one of Rome's most powerful figures, once questioned whether Escrivá's approach was truly Catholic, asking pointed questions about his organization's recruitment methods. Secular newspapers like Le Monde published investigative pieces suggesting Opus Dei functioned as a holy mafia for Spain's elite. Reddit forums today still feature heated debates, with former members describing an organization obsessed with recruiting successful professionals while ignoring social justice issues. The most damaging accusation came from prominent theologian Hans Kung, who publicly questioned how a saint could remain silent during Franco's dictatorship while maintaining relationships with regime supporters. These weren't casual observations. They were serious theological accusations that questioned whether Escrivá represented authentic Christian witness or sophisticated spiritual elitism. But were these critics seeing the complete picture? Or were they missing something profound about his revolutionary approach to sanctity? The truth behind the mission. Here's where the story takes a fascinating turn that reveals the depth of the misunderstanding. While critics focused on Escrivá's external associations, his actual writings told a completely different story. In The Way, his most famous work containing 999 maxims, he wrote extensively about humility, simplicity, and finding God in the most mundane tasks. Point number 10 states, "Don't let your life be barren, be useful. Make yourself felt, shine forth with the torch of your faith and your love." But here's what critics missed. Escriva's definition of shining forth had nothing to do with social status. Teresa, a cleaning lady from Madrid, shared how his teachings transformed her perspective on work. She described how Escriva personally visited her modest apartment, sat at her kitchen table, and explained how her daily scrubbing could become prayer. He told me, she recalled, that my mop was as sacred as any bishop's staff if I offered my work to God. Carlos, a bus driver from Barcelona, described meeting Escriva during a workers' retreat. The saint spent 3 hours discussing how driving could become contemplation, how patience with difficult passengers could become virtue, how maintaining a clean bus could reflect inner purity. These weren't wealthy industrialists. They were ordinary workers who found extraordinary meaning in their daily routines. For those seeking deeper inspiration from saints who lived extraordinary, ordinary lives, our ebook 50 Saints, Stories and Prayers for Divine Intervention features compelling accounts and powerful prayers from saints across centuries. You can find it in our store below. The real scandal wasn't that Escriva attracted the wealthy. It was that he dared to tell everyone they could become saints exactly where they were, regardless of their social status or profession. Spirituality in times of crisis. Escriva's message becomes even more relevant when we examine today's spiritual landscape through the lens of his most controversial teaching, the sanctification of secular work. In an era obsessed with activism and external achievements, he proposed something radically countercultural: silent, hidden sanctity that transforms the world from within. He argued that changing society required changing hearts, not just systems, a position that infuriated both progressive Catholics and secular revolutionaries. Consider this striking example. During the 1960s student protests, when liberation theology dominated Catholic discourse, Escriva maintained that a banker practicing honesty and charity in his profession contributed more to social justice than a priest carrying protest signs. This wasn't political passivity, it was spiritual warfare fought in boardrooms, classrooms, and kitchen tables across the globe. His approach challenged both materialistic capitalism and revolutionary socialism by proposing a third way: sanctifying secular work itself. A wealthy businessman following Escriva's teachings would view his success as stewardship, his employees as brothers, his profits as means for charity. Meanwhile, a factory worker would approach his labor as prayer, his colleagues as fellow pilgrims, his modest wages as sufficient for holiness. The accusation of elitism missed this crucial point. Escriva wasn't excluding the poor from his message. He was including the rich in the universal call to holiness. In a world that often demonizes wealth or worships it, he offered a path where financial success could coexist with spiritual depth. This nuanced approach explains why his critics found him so difficult to categorize, and why his influence continues growing decades after his death. Conclusion. So was Saint Josemaría Escrivá really the saint of the rich? The evidence reveals something far more complex and revolutionary than his critics understood. Yes, he attracted wealthy followers, but his core message democratized holiness in ways that threatened established religious hierarchies. He didn't create an elite spiritual club. He destroyed the barriers between sacred and secular, showing millions that sanctity wasn't reserved for monasteries, but available in every profession, every relationship, every ordinary moment. His critics may have been right about his refined tastes and influential connections, but they fundamentally misunderstood his mission. Escriva's genius lay not in excluding anyone from holiness, but in showing everyone, rich and poor alike, that their current circumstances, whatever they might be, contained everything necessary for sainthood. The cleaning lady's mop and the CEO's boardroom both offered equal opportunities for encountering God. The real question isn't whether rich people can be saints. It's whether we're brave enough to embrace the radical ordinariness that Escriva preached. In a world obsessed with extraordinary experiences and viral moments, perhaps the most countercultural act is finding God in the mundane, transforming routine into prayer, and discovering that holiness isn't about what you do, but how you do it. If this exploration of controversial saints intrigued you, subscribe for more deep dives into figures who challenge religious conventions. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. Remember, whether you're wealthy or struggling, powerful or powerless, Escriva's message remains the same. Your path to sainthood starts exactly where you are right now.